Everybody, welcome back to the Vinyl Rewind podcast. Today I'm speaking with members of the Heavy Heavy, Georgie and William, and they have a fantastic album out. It's their debut. I got the chance to see them when they were in LA. They played the Troubadour. It was a fantastic live show. I can't wait to talk to them, so let's get right to it. But thank you. Thank you so much for meeting with me.
We're very happy that we've managed to make it work, even though it's not in person. So sorry that we couldn't do that this time.
Yeah, well, it seems like it's a big step up for you as a band, like headlining tour and then like selling out shows. I mean, the Troubadour was packed. That was an amazing set, and you guys were just on fire. I mean, the band, it's, you know, so cohesive and really well paced set list, you know what I mean? Like there was never a moment of downtime. It was just like one song to the next, and yeah, I really enjoyed that, and congrats.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a great night, and we've been honing that set list for like 2 years now. So.
yeah, and I wanted to ask, like, what is it like playing some of these iconic venues? Like, what does that mean for you as artists, as musicians, as music lovers?
It's very, very special. It's, you know, like if the walls could talk, you can just feel the energy coming out of and particularly the Troubadour for us.
Yeah, the Troubadour's the sort of the apex of those famous sort of smaller rooms and the stories in that place. It's actually, you know, a lot of places we play have got some kind of history. It seems to me often than not someone's played there of, you know, of serious, you know, reputation and that. But the Troubadour especially is the kind of apex, you know, being right next to Laurel Canyon, and that's kind of all of our dreams sort of emit from that room, you know, so to be in there and to do it on stage ourselves is amazing. You know, it really is sort of validating in a way that we're actually able to sort of realize our greatest imagination. You know, we're to theorize about these things that happened in the 60s, you know, that's like 50, 60 years ago now. That's a long time ago. And it seems like this exotic memory that's not touchable, this different world and a different time. But right. So for us to be able to sort of step into it, especially with the music that we make that's so literally from that,
and being British,
it's
so different to anything that we know anyway. Like California, just in general, America in general is so different. Going west is so different, and then you get to California and you get to LA, where and you just kind of you go in and you focus in, and then you get to the Troubadour and you're like, I don't know how we ended up on this stage. Yeah, this is phenomenal.
We feel extremely lucky, and I think all things considered, we thrilled that we're able to do it.
Yeah,
I think you speak to that sort of that magic of that time period where it just felt like everyone was just, there was like a synergy, and it seemed to be like the epicenter was Troubadour or even the Sunset Strip, even, you know, and that stuff's so cool to like hear about, and then to be like a part of a modern version of that must be just, I can imagine, but yeah, so cool.
It is. It's so.
We hope for more from it, really. To be able to do that sound and to do it properly with a record label, and then, you know, all the rest of it. It is a dream come true. Really, it sounds like a cliche, but it is the dream, especially being English, to go across the pond and do it. It's sort of unfathomable, really.
And it was all just theoretical.
Yeah.
You know, like we were watching the Laurel Canyon documentary that came out, I think, 2 years ago. And you see Linda Ronstadt on stage, and they're all getting up, and just, as you say, like whoever's just getting up on stage that night, and they were all there all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird that to have that, to see it on the screen, to growing up listening to the music, to idolize these musicians, and then to be in that room, you're like, that's strange. I thought that was like something that I'd see on a screen or I'd hear in my ears, not something that I physically as a human could stand in the middle of, you know.
Yeah, very cool.
Amazing.
In terms of your sound, how you've honed the sound on particularly the debut album, like, was it like a natural progression just based on the music you listened to, or was it just you had tried different other bands, but you wanted to kind of focus in on this sort of like modern take of kind of 60s, early 70s garage rock, kind of psych rock kind of sound? Or
Yeah, I mean, I've spent the last 10 years sort of going for that sound, mainly being a producer, sort of engineer.
Yeah.
I've been fascinated by the recording techniques and how they got their sounds, because to my ears, it just sounds better. So I've always been on a sort of path to try and find how to record these sounds. And I think on that sort of journey, I've found ways to write the compositions into that sort of sound and work out what they were doing, because I listened to so much of it myself and listened to the music and work out what they were doing musically, as well as the sort of technological side of it. I've worked it out, basically. I've worked out a lot of what they were doing and throw in some of our more modern influences. I think that this was the only direction that we've been going. Certainly I've been going.
Yeah.
I've done little bits of other stuff, and at one time I was fascinated by EDM. That was I love that sort of thing. But Tame Impala came back, and Tame Impala came along and reignited guitar music. So ever since, and particularly with this album, it was only ever going that way. I think that's our sound, and that's where we'll always be. I think we're not likely to release anything that sounds like we're from the 80s. Sounds soon.
Yeah.
As much as I love to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be open to it, but I understand. What do you think about Tame Impala selling the catalog? I think that's kind of strange, but
I mean, it's strange so early on in their careers, and I don't know about that.
For me, it just feels like, so you had Currents, right, which obviously kind of a left turn, but blew up, and then it's like, what's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? It was like this long space, and then we had, here it is, and then COVID, and then it was like he couldn't tour it or anything, and it just, I mean, there's been like a couple of collaborations here and there. Like I really enjoyed that Thundercat thing that they did, but like then he did something for, I think it was the Dungeons and Dragons movie, I think, right?
Oh, wow.
To me, it just feels like, okay, it sounds like you're done, or you're done with Tame Impala, and now maybe you're going to do something else.
Yeah, I think that's how I feel. I feel it's a shame, because at the first album, and Ronerism and Inner Speaker, I could have just had that on repeat. Just more albums like that. Really, that was peak sort of perfection for me. Modern psychedelia at its best. But it seemed like on it, ticked it off and moved on, really. And I think, he's sound by the sounds of it, he's moved on again. So who knows? It's a shame.
Sort of a bit like the way Coldplay are ever evolving. They're moving into poppier and poppier around, I guess.
I used to be fanatical about Kevin Park. I used to read every interview he did, and he was always on about wanting to really be a hip hop producer. That was where he was at. So maybe that's where he wants to be. It's a shame, because I think he did the reimagining sort of retro psychedelia better than anyone has come close to by a country mile. Like I think
maybe he's gonna go right back to the start again.
Just Impala.
Who knows? I guess he's ready to cash in, and he's got a baby, right? I think he's got family and stuff. Maybe he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do that instead. I've got absolutely no idea.
I was reading some interviews you had done, and I really like the fact that you like all the versions of Fleetwood Mac.
Virgin.
I was talking about we were talking about the album that's between
Bare Trees.
The one,
and Kiln House.
There's one of the albums I listened to, and I thought it was one of the worst things I've ever listened to. This was the whole thing. I could find one redeeming 20 seconds in all of it.
I think you're talking about Bare Trees, and Sunny Side of Heaven is on Bare Trees.
The one with the penguin on it.
Oh no, that's
not enjoy it at all.
I know that one. Yeah, that one is like, what? But
just nothing going up.
That's the middle period. Yeah, that's like after Peter Green, but before Buckingham and Nicks. Yeah, that was like, what are we? Who are we? Where are we going?
They didn't know what they were doing or where they were going.
Is it called Penguin?
Yeah, it's Penguin. Yeah, that's just after Bare Trees. Yeah, I mean, there's this amazing interview that I've listened to with Christine McVie, and she goes through the lifespan of Fleetwood Mac and before, like where she started and why she decided to move back to the UK in her 50s and like sack it all off. But she talks about that whole period and like how it was different then because they had a record label that was still funding them for albums, and they didn't even really need to go and because they were making enough money from just the record label funding the albums that they could live, so they didn't have to go out and like play every single one.
I love the Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac is my favorite period for that. I mean, it's so dark and mystical and dangerous. It's unparalleled, the kind of dark energy in the music. There's not really anything I can think of that's got that kind of real danger in it. So
also, it's got like a sort of like CCR thing to it where it's blue because it was bluesy at that point, but with this like dark edge as well. It's like nothing that's ever, I don't think anything's been done like that, like with Peter Green, that like mysticism in there, the blues, but the dark mysticism as well.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, we could talk about let's talk about Fleetwood Mac and it's all Christians forever, man.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm all game. What are your thoughts on like the Buckingham Nicks album itself?
Oh, I love it. I love that. I think it's great, and it makes total sense as to why that ended up going where it was going.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the Andrew Bird and Cunningham? What's her? I forget her first name. Yes, Madison Cunningham.
Cunningham?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
The album's out. The recorded version's out, but they debuted the live set at the Troubadour. They recorded it and all of that. But it's wild. I mean, it's wildly different, and I really like the changes and things that they did to it. It's really kind of, because for me, covers like for instance, your cover of Real Love, I really like how you took it and made it your own, and that's what I love. Yeah, I hate it when it becomes karaoke. It's like
no point.
Yeah, it's like it's so close to the original that really it's only like maybe the guitar soloist and like the singer's voice is a little different and that's it. Have fun with it, change it, have it maybe do it in a different language, speed it up, slow it down.
Change the beats.
Yeah, it's like Joe Cocker's With a Little Help from My Friends.
Exactly.
While they stand up by themselves, and that's the thing with covers. You never want to make a cover in essence. You're always setting yourself up to fail because it almost never be as good as the original. So it's
we're on the hunt for our next cover, and we have been through so many options, and we're like, these they either won't live up to the original because we're taking from a different genre, and it's just not going to sound as good. Or it'll just sound too similar. That was what was so perfect about Real Love Baby. And it was when you changed the chords in the second verse.
It needed to be different.
That's when it really started to work.
The original is cripplingly slow, so we had to speed it up as well. It's pretty slow. It's like oh my God, it's so slow.
It's like wading through mud.
Yeah, but see, I love it.
But it's really cool.
Favorite song of all time.
Yeah. Sometimes I find with like trying to cover a song, sometimes you start to when you dismantle it, you realize there wasn't much to it. It was like a little lick and then maybe some production, and then it's like if you take those things out, it's like what do you have? It's interesting, and like when I played guitar more, I noticed once you get past the early 90s, it's hard to like cover pop songs because like they're just written differently wherever they started it. It just doesn't go as well as whereas you can take whatever the song from the Breakfast Club, Don't Forget About Me, Simple Minds, like that feels like it was written on guitar. Once you get past that, it's like it's just so hard because I'm not that talented. So but
no, but it's true, and we've tried it with, because the first two Coldplay albums are some of our favorite albums ever, and so we covering maybe a Coldplay song and it just doesn't work. The chord progressions are different. But we need something modern, and that was why Real Love Baby was fantastic, because it was a 60s love song, a 60s pop song underneath it. Yeah. We tried we thought maybe Arcade Fire, Keep the Car Running, and the same thing happened. We got so far and we were like, this is the end of the road.
Yeah.
It isn't going to happen.
We'll finish this. So, and it's weird. I'd love someone to actually break down exactly what it is about and at what point pop songs changed and why, you know, like in real detail, because we know that they're different now, but I'd love to know exactly why. I'm sure we could sit here and break it down, but it's tough.
Yeah, I found like actual pop songs now become nursery rhymes with just EDM in the background.
It's Coco Melon with sex.
Yeah. So there's no hope there.
Although there's some bright spots here and there, like Willow. I don't know if you listened to Willow's latest release, and I think a lot of the producers on that come from the jazz world. So I think they add a lot of substance to it.
Yes.
And it's a very
she's a phenomenal musician. Like, she plays so many instruments. Her singing is insane. And actually, I even have to say, there was a little spark for me with Sabrina Carpenter's song "Please, Please, Please," because it's like country, but then it changes key for the chorus, and then it goes right back into the original key that it started in for the next verse. It's really interesting. As a pop song, my ears kind of went, something's different about this one, because most of them are just algorithmically identical, which was cool.
Just as someone who's attempted songwriting, I really admire your guys' talent to pull that off, and especially in taking so much inspiration from retro stuff. Like, I would inadvertently rewrite like a Billy Joel song and be like, darn it. But to like take those sounds and but like create something new and unique to you is so I mean, it's it's easy to overlook how hard that is. I just want to respect that.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of that's down to your production as well.
Yeah, I think it's realizing what will work within the sound. And I keep trying to tell myself, just don't go funky.
Yeah,
so don't go Motown, because every inch of me wants to.
Yeah,
we're just not yet. So we'll get there in a different way. But yeah, it's fun. And yeah, it is difficult to keep it in the rock realm, as I say, because to make it work and for it to be sort of retro as well, it's a little bit tricky. It's a little tricky, but yeah, I think I found a bit of a method that works. I just hope I can do more of it.
Yeah, no, I think you got more in the can. So kind of tell me about how this group got started.
To go right back to the start, Will and I met through a mutual friend about 10 years ago when this mutual friend was recording his album. I was singing BVs on it, and he asked Will to produce it. And then after that, the three of us did a couple of writing sessions together, but it was all sort of more dream poppy. And then Will and I started just writing, the two of us. And there was a writing session, but it was like biannually, if that, just annually, And I was in Malvern in the studio, and Will had a 60s surf rock band before this. Very fun.
Very fun.
It's really fun. And he asked me to record some backing vocals for it. And it was, I don't know what microphone you were using.
It's the way that George's voice hit this. It's a tube microphone. It's got a valve in it. It's an old school microphone. And with the way it hit that, it sounded, I just thought, this sounds like Aretha Franklin. Not because George's voice sounds a lot like Aretha Franklin. It does in a way, but the way that I could hear it sonically, I was like that's legitimately the sound you'd hear of a 60s singer. Like that is the ingredients required to make that sound. So I was like, it's actually possible to make the sounds of our favorite records.
Yeah,
it's actually possible. It's not impossible. You don't have to be from the 60s to be able to do it. And I was like, okay. So we instantly started trying to do more, I guess.
Yeah. And then like a year or two after that, Will brought some demos down to London, and we sort of sifted through them, and I added a harmony line, and then he'd add a third harmony line, so there were two male, and then I'd add a fourth harmony line, so there were 2 male, 2 female, and then maybe one on top of that and one on top of that, and then we'd add some in the back. And suddenly we just had this like harmonic wall of sound over this production sound that Will had been honing for years.
Yeah.
And it was because he had these demos that weren't right for his surf rock band, but they were within that world. And then just putting our voices on it and making it a harmony band, suddenly like the heavy was just born. And we were like, well, this is we can't go back from this moment now, because we know what we can create this sound with this set of ingredients when we're together. So in 2019 we were like, okay, well, we've got 4 demos, let's perform somewhere in London. So we did like 2 acoustic nights, and then COVID happened, because that was the end of 2019, 2020. So we're like, oh, right.
But we don't.
We'll put the brakes on then. But then we released those tracks online.
Yeah, which was the original EP.
Yeah, Life and Life Only tracks. Why don't you call... Wait.
It was 5.
No, it was
5 originally.
It was?
Yeah.
Then 2021 came around and things sort of started lifting restrictions-wise. And we thought, well, we better get some people involved. So we were... we all bitch and moan about the internet and social media, but that's how we found these guys, and they're still with us, and they're our best friends. And they were sort of living fairly local to us, particularly in American terms, like within an hour and a half drive. So round the corner for you guys. Yeah. But like very far away to us. We'd only see them at Christmas.
Yeah.
And they were multi-instrumentalists, and they were down to rehearse and play some gigs with us. So we did 6 shows in some like pubs around UK. And then January 2022 happened, and ATO Records and our management both came along from...
Rang us up the same day, actually.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it was like, we're all in. If you're all willing to quit your jobs and sort of start on Monday, we go. So we thought about it over the weekend. It was kind of a no-brainer. We just went into it. And then next thing, a week later, supporting Black Pumas in Amsterdam, 6,000 people. Let's go.
Wow. Great
and that
band.
was May time. Yeah, so then the record label re-released the EP, and we started doing touring America and bits and bobs here and there, and then we've just been lapping America for the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, and then we've finally put this debut album out, and then just done this most recent tour. So yeah, it's been a long way to where we're getting. Sorry, a long way to where we are.
Where we are.
But and then once we got here, it's been like full throttle ever since. So we've been hanging on for dear life because things get flown. Yeah, thrown. We're on Jimmy Kimmel, and we're doing all the we've played in, I think, 44 states in America, and
wow.
We're up the Aspen Mountain in 7 degrees Fahrenheit, playing an hour and a half show as people ski down the mountain.
Yeah,
wow.
With hats on and warmers in our pockets, and just these insane experiences that we never ever even dreamt of, because we couldn't have dreamt of them.
Yeah. And so it's good. I mean, we've done a hell of a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And we've only just released the debut album.
Yeah.
It's been extremely concentrated. The last 2 years, it's been non-stop.
And now,
yes.
And I'm looking at your background, because your background is so cool.
Yes, that's awesome.
And I'm looking at our background. It's just so
I love the cow.
Our Highland cows.
Yeah.
Because we're at my parents' house, because we finally stopped for a minute, and we're like spending time with family and just take a moment to breathe. Unfortunately, our background is not as cool as yours.
You have the coolest background of anyone who's ever interviewed us, by the way. So, well.
Yeah, well, next time you're in LA, you'll have to come over for real. Yeah,
I love that.
You rummage through the collection. I gotta ask you about the band name, because coincidentally last year I saw The Heavy at the Troubadour. So I'm just wondering if that was that ever an issue? How did you come up with the name?
There have been no issues, and I'm assuming that they know that we exist by now.
Well, we do, because we have the same like our radio team is part of their management team.
Right.
So I believe it's all fine.
Yeah.
Well, you guys,
It's-
yeah. I mean, you feel it's very complimentary. I can't imagine there'd be any bad blood, but you never know.
No, I think it's all good. And the name came from an obscure BBC radio interview in the 60s, or sorry,
70s.
early 70s, when there was a guy interviewing David Bowie about what Ziggy Stardust sounded like. They're like, what's it like? And he was just like, it's heavy, heavy, man.
And we were like, that's cool as hell. And it wasn't until the record label came along and management came along, we went back and forth with them for a while, because we were like, do we need to change it? Don't we need to change it? Ideas, we even did change it at one point, but this was all a very like quick turnover within 2 weeks. We're all sort of tearing our hair out, and it didn't sit right with us changing it. And then in the end, all label management, their wives, their girlfriends, their cousins, or are all coming back going, I love the name The Heavy Heavy. The Heavy Heavy needs to be the name. So in the end, we were all like, okay, just squash it. We pulled The Heavy.
And then is there a story about the album title?
One of a Kind was the first, was our favorite song. We always knew that it had to go on the album.
Gotcha.
Being the opening track. We were playing with this idea of maybe just having the album, a bit like Led Zepp doing like 1, 2, 3 kind of a thing. We were like, do we play with that kind of thing, releasing our albums? So we liked the fact that it had the word 1 in it. But there's not really a story other than that,
Well, I'd like to think rather sort of,
this is what I was about to say.
not hopefully without arrogance, that we are a little bit one of a kind. We're sort of flying our own flag, sort of independently. I'd like to think, being what we are British and doing this sort of thing, I'd like to think I certainly strive for uniqueness in the way that we have our music. So I'd like to think that we are one of a kind. So it's a play on words, and it's a cool thing. Yeah. And there was no other options actually when we were looking at naming the album. It was either going to be the Heavy Heavy self-titled or One of a Kind.
Gotcha.
Maybe the next album, 2 peas in a pod.
And then the next one can be Menage a Trois.
Yeah, just to throw people up, psych it out.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I love the overall design and the photographs. I'm really digging it. It's like reminding me of like, I don't know, late 60s drag strip, Salt Lake kind of racing stuff.
I love that you get the racing reference, because because Will designed the artwork.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you, man. And I take huge influence. Sorry, I think there's a huge influence from historic motor racing branding. And I think it's quite ironic that we actually look like we're in vintage sort of Marshall's overalls on the front, because they used to wear white in the 70s. But yeah, it's a cool thing. I think it's, I grew up in a very motor racing based family, so it's actually a nice sort of full circle.
Yeah.
And it's a little clockwork, a little bit with the jumpsuits, a little bit. But I think the ascot or whatever you got, the scarf going on helps too.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Good color.
Can you guys tell me some of your like favorite classic rock albums? Or specifically, do you have a favorite Pink Floyd album?
Oh, I mean, like we could, like, if you want to extend this interview by a good hour, let's go. I love Wish You Were Here.
Yeah.
I'd always go with that. Dark Side of the Moon, I think, is 11 out of 10, and I think that is as good as an album could possibly be.
Yeah.
But I do almost prefer Wish You Were Here. I love Animals. I love Animals a lot. I think it's so pioneering and bold and very sort of playful. And it is before the sort of craziness of The Wall and then what came after all that. I think that Animals is actually an unsung hero in that sort of collection of stuff. And I personally am not a Syd Barrett fan. I like some of it, but it doesn't. I like what Pink Floyd became in the mid 70s. But well, I don't know where you're at on the Pink Floyd.
On Pink Floyd, I love Wish You Were Here, but nothing will ever take away from
Life doesn't. That's just as good as it gets. And then those other albums, so Gothic.
CR.
Yeah, Creedence has been a big one actually for us.
Yeah.
So and Cosmos Factory, like Born on the Boy, like all of the basically everything that John Fogerty did was kind of gold, and he's sort of untouchable. Green River, Deja Vu, obviously Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young,
Yeah.
big one for us with the harmonies. Buffalo Springfield's first album. Partly because I love how varied it is. Every song's very different, and that's something that we try and go in our albums. And the last song, Expected to Fly with Neil Young, that is just amazing. But obviously David Crosby's solo album, and Graham Nash's as well, to be fair. Their first solo albums, I should say. They're a big influence on us. But then you've got obviously Doors, LA Woman, and Jeff Snare, McLean, and we listen to a lot of Joe Cocker's stuff.
Yeah.
With Leon Russell. But then Delaney and Bonnie is a big one for us, and what's their album? Coming Home, is it? No, One Blue Feet. It's,
Dylan's Feet.
Yeah, Bob Dylan's feet in the photo. I think album specific.
I can't remember what it's called.
There's a great there's the Allman Brothers before that, after Hourglass, and before they were the Allman Brothers. They did a solo album, and that's beautiful.
Oh,
In the Morning one. That's the cell time.
Oh, it's so.
I think it's just Dwayne and Berg Allman.
It is.
It's called, yeah.
Wow. I gotta check that out.
Definitely check that out, man. There's a song called "In the Morning When I'm Real." I think it's called.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's such an unsung.
It's stunning.
And then obviously, the British stuff.
Let It Bleed.
Particularly for this album, and basically everything that the Stones did until sort of
It's all on Main Street.
Interesting. Goat's Head Soup.
Goat's Head Soup was like the apex of what we were writing into for this album. We were listening to that the whole way through lockdown and just having parties and just going fuck it to everything that was happening outside.
Right.
And people always say that was the sort of end of the Stones. But I think that still is such a great.
Darling, it was the new beginning.
It's a great album. It's a great album.
Yeah, I think right around that time it got a reissue with the original intended cover.
As they were celebrating it, yes, they were. Yeah.
We bought that, didn't we?
Yeah, we got a whole load of stuff for my dad, T-shirt, big book, all of that.
Then obviously, Who's Next? Absolutely incredible. All the Beatles albums, there's no point going into which ones. I mean, there's no point.
What's your least favorite Beatles album? How about that?
I saw the earlier ones. I'm kind of not. I would kind of. I don't. Partly because the production value is not as high as it got. I mean, I'm a huge one.
A lot of them, the early ones have a ton of covers on them too. It's like almost half and half.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, we talked about covers earlier, and they did do them differently, but, it's...
That was the way to go, I think, for a lot of bands like that at that point.
Yeah.
You had to. I mean, The Who were a Howlin' Wolf covers band, which is quite fun. I love Rubber Soul.
Rubber Soul's amazing.
Maybe
it is Beatles for Sale.
Yeah. No,
I think you probably hit the nail on the head there.
It's the puberty album, I would call it. It's like it's like growing pains. It's like it's a little bit of new, still kind. It's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's sort of like it's. But I mean, if you remove that and like give that album to like Gary and the Pacemakers, it'd be like top tier album. But you know what I mean? Like any other band, it'd be like, oh, this is great. But it's the Beatles. You're like, well,
But then you got really good.
The Everly Brothers.
Everly Brothers as well as a big influence. We've got that one that's called Rock and Roll Soul. Yeah, that's Rock and Soul.
Rock and Soul.
That one is great. But again, it's the harmony. We would naturally gravitate with anything with harmony. So even think, obviously, Fleetwood Mac, later Fleetwood Mac, and even things like the Eagles and
America,
like the Guess Who.
Yeah.
There's anything with harmonies that we'll try and go for. But again, Spencer Davis Group, Steppenwolf are a huge one, actually. Steppenwolf's kind of very much underlying in there because their rhythm section's incredible. And how kind of ballsy it was.
Janis Joplin, his brother in the holding company, and then I got them old Cosmic Blues,
And then for me, some of the interesting San Francisco bands, which were some kind of under the radar, like Quicksilver Messenger stuff. I love all that. And Chocolate Watch Band, what they called.
I don't know.
Can't remember that one. But there's some really interesting stuff on the periphery of that world. Like Melanie is another one that a lot of people don't know. It's just like huge wall of sound vocals over it.
We've just got her vinyl.
Yeah, and I quite like, I mean, our record label head will take the piss out of him because he calls it sort of Stonehenge music, but like that kind of, like when folk rock would meet rock, you know.
Like
sort of,
Lindisfarne?
Yeah, like Pentangle
and
that sort of world. I love all that kind of earthy nature. I think it's sort of British folk
Celtic.
music. When that can be mirrored with it, you know, like Jethro Tull sort of touched on it a little bit, but you know, like when that mirror that, it's quite an exciting sort of sound. And John Martin, who
now John Martin, we didn't realize John Martin wasn't like, or correct me if I'm wrong, he isn't huge in the US because he's like. He's a hero.
Yeah, he's
him and Nick Drake, they go hand in hand. But a lot of people that we talk to in the US, they know Nick Drake, but they've not heard of John Martin, which is wild because John Martin was like the reason Nick Drake was who he was.
Solid Air one. John Martin is top 8 records of all time for me. I think that, you know, he's a hero, and it's surprising when we go to America, people don't know who he is. Wow, that's a big one. Yeah, obviously, so I
feel obviously like Hendrix.
Yeah, I mean they're all. Canned Heat's a good one. We love the Burbank.
Haven't heard of him.
What's the
Canned Heat? Yeah. Did you ever get into the Seeds?
The Seeds, so good. Yeah, and even to go a tangent off that, the 60s Nuggets albums, they're great. They're kind of real unheard of, kind of like garage rock stuff. Oh yeah, and the Animals, huge part of my upbringing. Simon and Garfunkel, although I can't really stand them singing about Jesus all the time.
The Hollies,
Harmonies, great production. You know, some of the guys in the band really like the Kinks, and that's not really my vibe, but they're certainly in there. But that whole world, there's so much to take from. I mean, I always say that with us, we could go down so many different avenues. Whether we wanted to go more acoustic, like Hostiles and Nash, or we could even go slightly more psychedelic, Easter sort of revolver sort of thing, and put some of those Beatles things in there. You know, because the Beatles harmonies were there. You just, you know, there's so many options in that world, such variation. And
we've toyed with the idea of, because we do find the Cost of Freedom sometimes live and a cappella. And we've toyed with the idea of doing Because as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then obviously on the side of all that, you just take a slightly left turn. You've got all of the Motown stuff. So like for me, like James Brown and Marvin Gaye is my most listened to thing
Bill Withers
in the world. Yeah, Bill Withers, like I adore it. So I think that if we can, I think we might lean a little bit more into that as we go forward, particularly with Georgie's sort of vocal ability to sort of twin Aretha Franklin with, you know, because she would sing all the stuff that's, you know, Dorian Allman's on a lot of her songs. So,
well, she's the queen of.
But if we could have a bit of that going on,
rock and soul.
But it's just that golden atmosphere that those records. The thing that's for me that's a sort of common factor in them is that one, the golden sound and the kind of analog recording, but the optimism in the recording as well as the songwriting and the lyrics. It's optimism. It's like really like pushing the boundaries, but without, you know, synthesis and crazy electronics. It's still like acoustic instruments at the core, but like really pushing the boundaries of what can be done with sound. You know, Brian Wilson and other stuff like that. You know, that's what's so exciting. It's like you could do anything, but within the limitation of sort of real life. You know, there's no knots and ones and digital. So I think that's what
you haven't talked about. Nancy and Lee.
Oh yeah, Lee Hazelwood. Like I'm just it's just such beautiful sounds. They sound like they're more soundtrack than actual records. And I think that's something we want to get closer to.
So we talked a lot about older stuff, but what are some new records that you're really into right now?
I'm in love with a guy called Cutworms.
Okay.
So the two records that he 3 records he's made, are amazing to me, and he's there's a bit of pedal steel in there. It's slightly countrified, but for me that is a sort of the second coming of George Harrison. and it's lovely. It's really, really, really cool. The Alien Sunset EP is absolutely amazing. Yeah, and all the first 2 albums especially are amazing. I really do.
Veterans Day is on Nobody Lives Here Anymore.
I love that. There's Sylvie from LA. Do you know him?
I'm terrible with names, but if I see it, I'd be like, oh yeah.
The Sylvie story is really cool because he found his dad's. Was it just lyrics?
I think there were tapes that he tried to release in the 70s and or late 60s. It didn't really have any impact, so we sort of took the tapes and sort of reworked them and used some of the actual original tracks and they sort of reproduced them. Sort of brought it up to date, and it's beautiful. Great guy as well.
Amazing.
Someone that's just come onto my radar, and I'm surprised that it's taken so long, is Jessica Pratt with Life Is. I love that. I was reading an interview, I think it was a Rolling Stone interview with her a couple of months back, and she goes through like all of her favorite songs, and they're all, I mean, she is obsessed with everything that we're obsessed with, that like San Francisco 60s, LA 60s. And it was cool because she introduced me to some deep cuts of like Mamas and the Papas through this interview. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've kind of fallen a bit head over heels in love with her at the moment. I'm like, oh my God, you're like her soul sister.
And then there's like Neil Francis, who's a label friend of ours. And really cool, like,
love that stuff. Yeah.
Climax Blue times 10, but like, modern funky stuff. But drug dealer from LA is really, really good.
Drug dealer. Yes.
Michael Kiwanuka, like, love all the stuff that he does. And
yes.
I'm a big, I love my 90s Brit rock and grunge.
Yes.
And so I love Blonde Shell because she's like bringing back that really sort of hazy, almost shoegazy, but a bit like rockier, grungier sound, which is very cool. And also there's this band from the 90s called Kula Shaker, who are British. Super cool rock music. And then he went off to India, and so he brought back a lot of that like psychedelic stuff that the Beatles did. He wrote songs called Tatvar and Govinda, and you've got all of these like amazing like sitar sounds in the background. Anyway, they just released, after however long, a new album, and there's this one song in it called Fuck War, and it's just so cool, and I have that on repeat a lot at the moment. This thing is called the F-Bomb.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Awesome.
And another one for you is Jalen and Gonda.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
like he's everywhere at the moment. Jalen, and it's Ngonda.
Ngonda, yeah.
And
that is sort of Marvin Gaye crossed with Curtis Mayfield.
Oh yeah,
right up to date.
Yeah. No, I know him. He's amazing. I mean, I don't know him. I know his music. Amazing stuff.
That whole Diamond Line recordings, just like that. That's some special stuff out there. So that is their best thing that they've done. I've listened to that a lot.
Have you guys checked out the?
What about you?
Oh, me?
What have you been
I was going to
listening
say, have you checked out The Sacred Souls? Have you listened to them?
Oh, so good. We support those guys at the festival. So good.
Yeah. They
like Marvin, just reborn.
Like we were in Andy's bar next to the Troubadour.
Yeah.
And Axe bar, and they were just playing like, it was The Sacred Souls, Jalen Gonda, Black Pumas, and every time The Sacred Souls came back on, I was like, is this Marvin Gaye? No, it's The Sacred Souls. Like, it's like the timbre of his voice is so sweet.
There's another one. And Tessa Parks.
Yeah, Tessa Parks.
She's just, a bit more of that sort of Brian Jonestown Massacre kind of like psyche kind of. She's got a new thing called California. Literally out like last week. And that's very much, psyche.
Oh, have you guys listened to the Mystery Lights?
I know the name. I'm just trying to think if I know their music.
They're not on Daptone, but Daptone has like this sister label, I think, called Wick, which kind of releases other stuff. But amazing. Like, and that's one of those albums where I heard it online and I was like, yeah, it's cool. But then I got the vinyl. Yeah. And suddenly I was like, is this the same record I listened to? Like it just sounded
Good.
so
It
different
sounded great.
on vinyl. I'm in love with it, but I think you would really dig them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to order that, I think, then. And then there's a member, because that's a really cool photo they've got.
They look like
on the-
just an airplane.
Yeah. What do you think about the Jamie XX new release?
Oh,
I'm not-
I'm a huge fan of his, but I've not heard this new record.
His collaboration
good?
with the Avalanches. It's. I
Oh
think
my
I might
God.
like this one more than his debut.
I want to try that out later. I reckon that'd be nice.
That's all.
This is a cool album goes out of that.
There's also
Yeah, we're
this
gonna have to
guy. He's kind of fun. Pokey Lafarge. Yeah. I like his stuff, man. I don't know. There's something about it.
It's very charming, isn't
Yeah.
it? And speaking of playful, that brings me on to Sierra Farrell, who's just on her own.
Amazing.
Yes.
I mean, who is she? Where did she come from? She's the coolest thing.
I got to see her at the Fonda, and she played 2 nights, and John C. Reilly showed up and played like 3 songs, and like they even did a little improv. But I guess he does a lot of folk. There's like a folk festival that they do at the Ford Theater.
Right.
I guess that's how they know each other, because she played it too, and I was like, because it's such a kind of a random connection, and then I dug a little deeper. But yeah, amazing vocalist.
John C. Reilly, we played a festival in Marfa, Texas last year called El Cosmico. And he was there because he was with McLovin. I can't remember his actual name.
Chris,
You know McLovin from...
from Superbad. He
He's
plays
a musician? I didn't realize he played music.
Yes,
He plays guitar for Ben Queller.
Ben Queller, that's
Are you
it.
kidding me?
Yeah, so they were both there. It was a very surreal situation.
John C. Reilly was there.
He was
with
too drunk to do his set.
Too drunk to do his set. And then
cycled home.
and now Will bases all of his outfits on what John C. Reilly was wearing, because he looked so dapper and cool.
Yeah, he looked awesome.
Yeah, well, no, you guys have a great stage presence. I mean, it was a fantastic show. So thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it, and it's been great to talk with you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, and we really appreciate you getting up way too early and putting on such an amazing suit. You look incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And your background is incredible, and you're showing us up in our little country bumpkin house with our Highland coo.
Me.
Highland coo right here. No, honestly, this has been such a joy. We're looking forward to meeting you in person next time we're in LA.
Oh, definitely. Can't wait. All right. Well, thank you.
Enjoy seeing you there, man.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks.
Everybody, that will do it for today. Be sure to check out the Heavy Heavy's debut album, One of a Kind. It's available on vinyl, CD, and of course, streaming. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, but I especially want to thank my members over on Patreon. They really help to keep these lights going. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.